Today on Carcass, we start a new project with some big plans in mind. We strap her down to the dyno and see what this old girl has left in the tank.
Then start tearing her apart to make room for all the upgrades we plan on, which includes a major power boost.
Hey guys, welcome to Carcass. Well, the sun is shining. We are not in the shop today because we are out driving a new project vehicle.
And you probably can't tell from the inside, but we're in a 1989 Chevy C1500 pickup. This is what's considered now the OBS Chevy from 88 to 98. And we have some big plans for this thing.
Yeah, this is like a regular cab short box. The guys are starting to call them RCSBs. Obviously for regular cab short box trucks, yeah, so they're super popular.
Yeah.
Still a throttle body truck. It's got a Wampin 700 R4, so it's got overdrive.
Yeah.
This must have been a little classier model. I don't know who did the conversions on these, but you know, it's got the wood grain center console. It's got the wood grain, well, it's plastic, I guess, on the dash and stuff, but
I don't like any of it.
You don't like any of it?
It just feels cheap to me.
It's, you know, this was a classic truck when I actually met my wife, believe it or not, in 1999. These were the hot trucks. She drove a 96 extended cab short box 4-wheel drive Z71.
Oh yeah, killer.
And that was their cabin truck. It's what they used to build the cabin. Her family did, at least. And
yep.
Man, those were the hot ticket.
Yeah, and for my generation now, like, these are kind of the hot rod, right? Because they're getting more popular, they're getting more expensive, but they're not quite out of that range where it's untouchable, I guess. And yeah, like you said, you're really familiar with these. When I was in high school, I drove a 97 Tahoe Z71, right, full giddy up on it. And yeah, like, there's nothing to not like about this whole series of trucks, I don't think.
Well, at this point, you practically live in a truck like this because you have 2 of them now, right?
Yeah, I got Grandpa,
right,
which is my 92 GMC long bed single cab, and then I got 95 K2500.
Right.
That'll carry me around in the winter time, you know?
Right. 4-wheel drive.
Yeah,
right, yeah. These trucks are, they're getting not hard to find, but the prices are creeping up on them. You know, with popularity obviously comes some jacked up prices in the market, but
yeah,
you know, you can still find them, and we thought, you know, why not try to put one of these trucks together. Super common to do engine swaps. Everybody now makes wheels and tires that fit it. They make some brake upgrades.
Suspension stuff.
All sorts of suspension companies out there. You can start bolting a lot of things onto these trucks, and they can be a lot of fun, you know, to drive on the street, but they can also be a ton of fun to drive them on the track.
Yep, exactly. And like, you still have the utility of a truck.
Right, yeah, and they're still usable trucks.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got big plans for this one. We don't ever like telling you guys what the plans are right away because we want you to stick around and, you know, see what's gonna happen. We are gonna throw this truck on the dyno and see what it's got left in it. Like, it's 350 TBI. It's got 247,821 and a half miles on it as of right now.
And it smokes.
And it smokes really bad. So we need to swing into the gas station. We're gonna fill this thing up, throw some fresh gas in it, and then we'll get it back to the shop and throw it on the dyno.
Yep. And the AC doesn't work, so I want to get out of this damn thing anyway.
Right. Now, before we hit the dyno, we're gonna fill our truck up with a little better grade fuel, and we're gonna be adding some Seafoam motor treatment. Now, this stuff helps clean dirty injectors and carb jets. It also helps with your intake valves and your combustion areas. Now you can run this stuff in your crankcase or in your fuel system, and for cars and trucks that are driven regularly, you can put 1 or 2 cans of Seafoam in every 3,000 miles. And don't worry if you put too much in. Seafoam only contains petroleum-based cleaning and lubricating ingredients, and it can't harm your engine or your fuel system. Now we only added about half a can of Seafoam and a couple gallons of fuel because we're just gonna run this thing on the dyno and then we're gonna tear it completely apart, get ready to swap out the motor. We head down to engine power and see what our OBS Chevy has left.
Listen to this sweet sounding rig here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See what she
You have a
does.
file
Let's see what
built?
you
Yeah, I got one built. I forgot how clean this truck is.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
I'm not sure if it's gonna set the world on fire on the roller here. But
Yeah, I've never seen a raked window. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, what?
Well, boys, this ain't the first time you've seen the truck, but we're
No.
back to pull some numbers now.
No, I really like this. It's a good looking rig. So
Yeah, super straight, you know, throttle body 350. We've gone over this already. You guys seen it, and we're just pretty much here to see what it's gonna make for power. It's got like 247,000 miles on it, so.
Well, we won't expect much, but yeah. I think the real question is it gonna make more or less than the Honda?
It depends on before, well, I hope it's more than before boost, but I don't know about after boost, so we'll see.
Yeah.
What do you think then?
Numbers wise, yeah, like 171.
Okay, I'm going 185. I'm gonna shoot a little high.
Optimist.
I love your optimism. Just because it has a lot of miles on it doesn't mean it's down on power or whatever. But I am going to say, I think it might scratch 170.
Okay.
I'll go with you. I think it's like 178. We'll go with
Okay,
that.
go a little higher.
A little high.
And Pat, to your case, you know, that may have had work done to it. We don't know anything about the
Well,
truck.
this has got some fancy work done to it just from the last time we've seen it. So pop the hood. We'll take a peek at it because I tell you, just because I say
Frankie, you want to
I'm
strap it
venturing
down?
to say that this isn't stock, and by that air cleaner,
Yeah, well, yeah, the taller it is, more horsepower, you know?
yeah,
And if it fits loose, then even better.
It's loose. You don't want that too tight because that's a restriction. And I remember your wiring.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Now see, this is an addition, so the battery doesn't move around this
Yeah.
hot bungee here.
yeah. Anything to gain the, you know, just fractions of horsepower.
There's nothing leaking out of it though, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, strap it down and we'll light it. It's on the lie detector, so we're gonna find out exactly what it makes.
Yep.
All right, we're all hooked up.
Yeah.
Ready to roll?
Go for it.
Do it.
Can you see us okay?
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Straight up's $5,000.
Yeah, because we don't have a tack in here,
Somewhere
so
over here.
Just go till it stops.
Yeah.
I just got to find drive now. That's the tough part. I think that's it. That might be
Sure.
overdrive though.
Take the brake off.
Here we go.
Exciting.
I hope I'm in drive, not overdrive. We'll figure it out here shortly.
We're staying together.
It made it. It made it through.
Woo!
What is it?
Dang, somebody had a good guess.
That's not bad. 172.
No way.
kidding.
Who said 171?
Yeah.
That was
Awesome.
you?
171.
Dang.
239 and a half pound-feet of torque.
That's not too bad.
Heck yeah.
Not bad.
Back that up. That one's a fluke. Two's a real number.
All right. We'll do one more.
It can make 300 or 140 right here.
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
All right, go again.
That was a good pull.
All right, well, let's try it one more time.
Yeah, a little slow.
Brakes off. I'll go to $6,000 this time, just because why not?
Yeah, absolutely. If it'll go there.
Yeah, sounded like it was struggling.
stinky.
It's a little stinky.
See, it was sitting bouncing between 2,500 and 3 grand.
175.
All right.
We're all in the
Yeah.
ballpark, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're all just good guessers or we just had low expectations.
I think we're all good guessers, actually.
No, I mean, that's actually not far off what these things actually make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was peppy, so when we drove it.
It sounded fine.
That's
And
not
you
much
guys
loss.
have a motor already built for this,
Well,
right?
we might have something that makes a little bit
Little
more
more
power
power
than
in
this
that?
one.
Just a scotch.
Just a little bit, yeah. The one we have tuned up for it, it's spicy. So
I think it's gonna go good in this thing. I think it's gonna be like a really nice driver and also a little bit racy, which I think is what you guys wanted for it. So
Yeah, no, we're excited. We got to get this thing back down into our studio. We'll start tearing this thing completely apart, and then we'll have to come back down here. We'll pick up the motor that's sitting over there because I can see it.
yeah, so whenever you guys are ready for it, it's ready to go.
Yeah, and then you guys can have this one too.
I said, don't get rid of this. Save this one. There's nothing wrong with having one of these sitting around. We actually have a few sitting around right now, but we can always do things with them. Projects come through here all the time, and basically they're just plain fun and relatively cheap fun to do some stuff and put on our dyno. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're good. Get it unstrapped and get her back down to the shop.
Yep.
that was the most uneventful chassis dyno.
Hey,
a
we
good
just
thing.
needed, like a baseline.
Nothing was spitting out. It wasn't smoking.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Hey, now you know where to start.
that's right. We'll get her unstrapped and we'll get out of here.
Coming up, we start tearing into the skeleton of our Chevy to get to the belly of the beast.
Well, Jimmy, we got this thing back out into the shop. It made a whopping 173 horsepower, which is nothing really to write home about. But I think we just kind of dive into this truck and get started.
Yep, and with this truck, we're going to be going for a pro touring style build, and with the pro touring movement going on the last few years, basically that means high performance, but also comfortable, something you can go out and drive. And so with this truck in particular, we're going to be taking out the stock powertrain, putting in the LS, that engine power built for us, matched with a 6-speed manual transmission. And up front, we're going to be doing a full front suspension kit. And in the rear, we're actually going to be doing a custom 3-link setup with some pretty trick stuff on it that you guys will see later.
And at the end of this, we're going to do a little bit of paint work on the side of the truck here to give it a little classier look. And then we're going to dive to the interior and kind of upgrade the seats so it's a little more comfortable for Jimmy and I to drive. But I think it's going to be a whole lot easier if we just kind of ditch the whole front clip. So let's just get rid of the core support fenders in the hood, and we'll get down to that drivetrain easier that way. And in the back, we'll just get rid of the whole box, and we'll just kind of get rolling here.
All right, let me get some tools.
All right, that should be good.
Ready?
Yep. That's gonna make a mess. I can't believe that's coolant.
Oh, that's yucky. Here's brown, black.
Just terrible. Probably just cut the cooler lines, right? We don't need those anymore. Parts and pieces now. How long is a belt? Got the extension. Perfect. There. All right.
All right, I think it's about ready to come out.
I just got to finish the AC stuff here, so
Okay.
everything's loose. We just got to get it through the core support.
Yeah, nice. We got it.
All right, I should be loose once I get the screw completely out of there. Pull the fenders back. Here's the back already, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yep, okay. Back line. Go behind, there you go. Good.
Oh, we got one more thing.
Line
hooked
that's
up
just
here.
kind of stuck in there.
There you go.
There we go. I got mine. You keep working on yours.
There we go. Who needs inner fenders anyways?
At least it goes high enough. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do before the box off, let's get rid of the electrical. We're gonna undo this ground strap, and then we'll just unplug this connector up here.
All right, we'll get this thing down and we'll get the bed off.
All right, I'll go get the bed lift and the cherry picker. I'll maneuver that in there.
All right, take it on up.
Get her out of here. There. Now I should be able to roll the truck right up from underneath it.
All right.
That is simple.
Cool. Jinx.
You owe me a Coke. The heart of our Chevy is still pumping, but it has to go to make some room for our transplant. Well, Jimmy's got the drive shaft out. We got a couple more bolts to get this engine out of here, and we're gonna have to come back in, cut the exhaust, and we'll hook up the cherry picker, pick this thing out of here. Right on time. Keep coming. There you go. All right, let me get out of here. We got one bolt on that side is still in yet. Not anymore.
Got it. All right. Let's go.
All right, go ahead. Hang on, AC, there we go. You know what, Jimmy? This isn't even a 350.
No?
Nope, says it right on the back here. 5.0 liters.
Jeez.
305.
I mean, 170 horsepower for a
305?
That's actually not too terrible, but it's going to be getting a big upgrade. So.
Yeah, that LS that's going in here is going to be a giant upgrade.
Yeah. The engine build started with an iron block 6-liter LS. It has a 4-inch bore with 4-bolt main caps that are also cross-bolted. For the internals, the engine power guys use Summit Racing's Pro LS Series parts, including a 4340 forged crankshaft with a 4-inch stroke, a hydraulic roller camshaft, and a double roller timing set. For pistons, they used a 4032 forged style with coated skirts.
To cover the pistons, they went with a set of TrickFlow Gen X 255 heads, also from Summit Racing. And before they ran this thing on the dyno, they topped it off with a Fitech Ultimate LS ECU system. On the dyno, the LS made 585 horse and just over 500 pound-feet of torque. You know, Jimmy, that LS is going to be a giant advantage over this tired old Well, it's a 305, I guess, now that we know that.
Yep, and it's gonna take a little bit of work to get this thing in the truck, but all the swap parts are out there, so for us, it's just gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think before we set that in between the frame rails here, we should take this outside, pressure wash underneath the hood here a little bit.
I agree. So if you guys like anything you've seen in today's show, go to PowerNationTV.com and be sure to check out our build pages where you can see more of our Pro Touring OBS Chevy, Project Junk Mail, and the Honda Rally car.
All right, let's get these out of the way and push the truck outside.
Today on Carcass, we start rebuilding our OBS Chevy into a Pro Touring powerhouse. We'll drop in a 500 plus horsepower engine that we got from Engine Power and slap on a performance 6-speed to get it around the track.
Plus, we'll add a custom exhaust and a fuel system, then fire up our LS. Hey, there you go.
Hey guys, welcome to Carcass. Jeremy and I have made a lot of headway on our OBS Chevy, taking off the entire front clip, removing the bed, and removing the stock powertrain. So now, all the fun work can begin.
And that begins right here with this 406 cubic inch stroked LS that was built by our sister show down in Engine Power. Now this thing laid down almost 600 horsepower and made an impressive 511 pound-feet of torque. But this isn't the only upgrade we're doing to the OBS. We got to add something to the back of this to get all that power down to the ground.
And to do that, we're going with this Tremec T56 Magnum 6-speed transmission that was provided for us by American Powertrain, along with this kit that they put together specifically for our truck. And obviously that includes the transmission itself, bell housing, pressure plate, clutch, reverse light harness, the throwout bearing, and all the hardware needed to do this job right. And the beauty of this kit is that we don't have to cut the floor to put this thing in. We can reuse the stock cross member, and this transmission can handle 700 pound-feet of torque, which is beyond what our engine makes. So this is really the best option that we have, and we're gonna have so much fun putting this thing in and absolutely roasting the tires off the truck. But before we put this thing in, we gotta set the clutch on the engine, so that's where we're gonna start.
Oh, hey, good timing, man. Get this flywheel on here,
Yep.
and we'll set the clutch up.
Yep, let me get some degreaser and we'll wipe these things down.
Sounds good. With the flywheel bolted on with the supplied hardware, we'll torque it down to spec.
Then we'll clean the pressure plate and the flywheel to get rid of any oils from the manufacturing process. When we're done with that, we'll torque down the pressure plate and install the bell housing.
To put our engine in between the frame rails of our truck, we went to Summit Racing and picked up these ICT LS swap mounts specifically to put an LS in an OBS Chevy truck. They also came with new clamshell mounts. Now these just replaced the stock ones on the frame rails right now, so that's where we're gonna start. It's a good idea when doing any engine swap to replace the engine and the transmission mounts. We're all set up. Let's get this thing in there.
Yeah, let's see it.
Close-ish.
Pretty centered.
Yeah, it looks pretty centered to me.
Yeah, just start dropping it down. Stop! Holy Jesus.
Scare ya?
Well, yeah, you almost dropped it on the oil filter.
You gotta make sure you're still on your toes.
No, you just gotta open the freaking valve slower.
I know.
Stop doing that.
No, it's really, really touchy. Watch that coil pack on that side.
Stop.
Yeah, we gotta just kind of weasel, I think. We could almost came this way just a little more, but we'll be okay.
You drop it down, I'll try to get the
Bell
I'll try
housing
to
in
tilt
there.
it so the bell housing clears.
Okay.
Go down a little more.
Okay.
Oh, no, maybe not.
Here, I'll go down. May have to tilt back just a little bit to line it up.
right, let's get this thing out of here, and then we'll get the transmission in it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, now that we have the LS installed in between the frame rails of the OBS, it's time to install the transmission. But not before we set up the throwout bearing. What we need to do is take a specific measurement to figure out how many shims we need to add to get the right air gap. So I got to take a measurement here on the transmission, and I'll also take a measurement up underneath the truck. That's about 1.90. And up under the truck here, we'll measure from the bell housing face to one of the ears of the clutch. We get about 2.44. So if we take our two measurements, the first one being 2.44, we subtract our first measurement of 1.90, that gives us 540 thousandths. Now we also need to subtract 150 thousandths for an air gap, and that gives us 390 thousandths. So knowing that, we can take our shims, which are each 90 thousandths apiece, and we'll stack 4 of them up. That gives us 360 thousandths, and that's right in the ballpark of where we need to be.
As I said before, we don't have to massage the trans tunnel to get this thing to fit, but we do have to drill a hole in the tunnel to get the shifter up through there. And this truck was originally a manual, but the hole in it is way too far forward. So I'm just gonna drill this new one, and that'll be it.
All right, Jimmy, you ready for this thing?
Yeah, let's try her out.
You can have her on the lap.
Yep.
And get her in position, and I'll help.
Yeah, okay. All right, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
All right, how's that?
I mean, we've got only not even 1/8 of an inch, so I think we can put some bolts in it.
Okay, I got one right here.
I'm sure the pilot bearing's engaged, so.
We're not really pulling this together with these bolts. We're just, using them to snug this down.
Yeah, and we've done enough of these that, the dowels fit pretty tight, so.
Right.
You can't, it's hard to get it all the way in without.
Just by pushing?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the stand. Help you a little bit. Oh, man, you don't even need me. You got this. Heck, you don't even need the stand. I'm gonna get me a glass of milk and some cookies.
All right.
Dude, that's
let
perfect.
me get the cross member.
All right. All right, let's get this trans mount on first. We should be able to use the stock cross member too. That should all just work together. Perfect.
Okay, so now we can put the trans cross member in it. And the nice thing is that on these chassis, there's another series of holes just a little farther back that the cross member will bolt into, so we don't have to do any drilling, and this transmission will be mounted.
It started life as a manual, so we're gonna return our Chevy back to its roots. Now that we have the transmission installed in the truck, we gotta find a way to control the clutch. Now when this truck originally rolled into the studio here, it had an automatic transmission in it. But after doing a little bit of research, we found out this truck came stock with a 5-speed. We know that because there's a giant hole in the trans tunnel here, and there's a little bit of a clutch bracket left underneath the dash here. So we went out and shoved it out on the internet looking for a clutch pedal setup, and we actually had a viewer send us one that fits this truck perfectly. And this will be super simple to install. It's just one bolt, and then once we get it up underneath here, we'll also replace the clutch master cylinder. This is all loose underneath here yet, which is kind of helpful. The bracket's not tight. At least I'll be able to get this long bolt out of here. What did people do before ratcheting wrenches? These things are just awesome. Weasel this all out of here once. There we go. Even left the little, I guess, spacer thingy in it. This should slide in here. Perfect. Now the tough part. Weasel this in here and get a bolt in it. Got a hold you. Zoom up and in. Oh, look at that. Perfect. I think we're there. No, that's almost tight. I gotta find some bolts. Bolt this bracket back up to the underside of the dash here. There. Even swings, look at that. Oh, some stuff way here. Just gonna find some bolts quick. We've got a clutch pedal. It's simple. The trigger sitting on part of the wiring harness. There we go. Installed. Now outside the truck, we're going to be replacing the clutch master cylinder with a stock replacement piece. We picked this one up from Summit Racing. All right, so the last thing we'll do on the clutch side of things is connect this hard line, which will go down to the stainless steel line that goes to our hydraulic throwout bearing. And then we are one step closer to firing this thing up. This should work.
Coming up, we tackle the exhaust system, adding some trick components for race day.
All right, so we have the engine and the trans sitting up in the OBS truck, and now it's time to start moving towards the back, so we're gonna work on some exhaust. We went to Summit Racing and picked up these headers. Now, these are specific to do an LS swap in an OBS truck. They'll fit right in there, so what we have to do is grab some gaskets, get our headers in. Weasel these up there, and then we'll let them rest here, and then we'll go up top, put the gasket in, tighten them down with some bolts. Feed this in here once. Get a bolt started too. Super simple to do this when you don't have fenders or inner fenders in your way.
To go along with our headers, we got this exhaust builder kit from Summit Racing. This is the 3-inch stainless and polished version, and what you see here is actually only about half of what they include. And on our truck, we're only going to be able to build out about 75% of the exhaust right now, because with the custom rear suspension we're putting under it, we're not sure where the axle and the other control arms and everything are going to land. So let's try to figure out how we can get over the transmission crossmember. The first piece I have here is just a 45-degree bend. I will end up cutting the header itself just to shorten it a little bit, and then on this bend, I'm just gonna cut it here. I'll get another 45, flip it over so we can just go over the crossmember. We're using V-bands for the exhaust because they're so easy to use, and we'll just tack them in place. The next piece of our exhaust is this catalytic converter that we got from Flowmaster. This is gonna make sure our truck is legal and we can drive it up to the track. This is a slip fit, but we will just tack it on and then keep moving back. Something really neat that we're going to be adding into our exhaust system is a pair of exhaust cutouts that we got from Patriot Exhaust. And what these are going to do for us is when we get to the track or the autocross course, we can open up the cutouts and dump the exhaust in front of the muffler so we can really hear how our engine sings. And this comes in a complete kit. It comes with clamps, gaskets, a little tailpipe for each one, and all the hardware and wiring that you need to make this a very simple installation. And in our case, it's already a custom exhaust setup, so we're gonna go ahead and weld it on. And also, because we have a cat, we wanna make sure that the motor of the cutout is at least 12 inches away from the cat so it's not too bothered by the heat. Just like that. All right, the last piece of our exhaust for the time being is gonna be this Flowmaster muffler. As I said before, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves because we're not sure where the rear suspension and everything is gonna land. So for right now, I'm just gonna get this thing tacked in. All right, muffler's tacked in and everything looks really good. I'm gonna keep working on the driver's side, try to get it to come over across the chassis, land next to the passenger side exhaust. The next thing Jeremy's gonna be doing is working on the wiring so he can get it fired up.
It's time to light the fires, but first we have to add the fuel. With Jimmy working on the exhaust and pretty much buttoning that up, we get to start the daunting task of getting our engine running inside of our truck. Now, when engine power dropped off the engine, it was a running engine because they ran it on the dyno. And the way that they controlled the fuel injection was with a Fitech Ultimate LS ECU and wiring harness. This is extremely simple to set up. All you got to do is plug in a couple of wires and then supply power to the ECU. But there's many other pieces that we need to hang on top of our LS just to get it running. So we went to rockauto.com and picked up some of the essentials. We've got stuff like the battery, we've got an alternator, starter, we've even got the AC compressor and the power steering pump. Now, when it came time to pick out the battery, all we did was plug in the year, make, and model of our OBS, and that's how we found this out. But for you guys that are working on project vehicles, you may not have the original powertrain sitting in between your frame rails. And for us, the LS did not come in the OBS at all. But we did know the parts and pieces that we needed came from a mid-2000s Chevy Silverado. So we just went onto their website, plugged that in, and we came up with some of the essentials. Now what I have to do is get the battery installed, so we're gonna grab this, and we'll head over to the truck. So over at the truck, we're actually just gonna put the battery here for right now because we're not gonna put the front clip on this thing. We have entirely too much work to do, and we're gonna be working on quite a bit of suspension. So from here, we'll put the starter in it, we'll hook up a couple cables, and then we'll start making some connections. All right, and up next, we'll toss in the starter. All right, so I got the starter installed, and I even hooked up the positive and the negative battery cable, and I ran power up here to the bus bar. So now we're gonna move on to the standalone ECU and the wiring for the fuel injection. That pretty much wraps up the wiring on the EFI side of things. Now what I have to do is jump into the stock harness because we're gonna need things like the crank signal. I gotta come up with key on hot to run the ECU, and I'm gonna be looking for the oil pressure wires and for the coolant temp wires. But I'm gonna dive into that, but coming up next, we're gonna work on the fuel system.
To go along with our Fitech fuel injection system, we need a way to get that fuel to the injection system itself. So what I have with me is Fitech's retrofit fuel pump kit, and what this does is it takes your carbureted fuel tank and converts it to something you can use with EFI. So take this Bronco for example. We have this pickup here that all we need to do is drill a hole, drop it in, have a way to seal it to the tank, a fuel sock, and a pump, and you can bring your old car into the modern age. Luckily for us, our truck was already equipped with fuel injection, so we only need the pump. And what I have here is a brand new fuel sending unit that we got from our local parts store, and I just threw on the 340 liter per hour pump that we got from Fitech. So all I have to do is take the old fuel sending unit out, put this one in, and then we're onto the fuel lines. All right, take this hose off real quick, and we'll get the new sending unit in. All right, so we got the sending unit installed, and the last thing to do to it here is we're gonna use these two adapters that we got from Holley, and these will adapt to the lines coming off the sending unit and allow us to run AN lines all the way to the front. All right, that wraps it up on the tank side. Jeremy, how you doing up here?
Well, this is the last connection for the plumbing and all the wiring's in it, so let's see if this thing fires up. Huh?
All right, let's try it. Fuel pump on.
Yeah, hear that. Hey, there you go. Yeah. And that's pretty easy.
Yeah, well, the guys at Engine Power, they kind of did the hard work, and our job was easy. So.
Right, and it just kind of slid right in here, so I think that pretty much takes care of it for now, though. If you guys like anything you've seen on the show today, why don't you go to PowerNationTV.com.
And be sure to check out our project pages where you can see the Honda Rally car, the junk mail Jeep, and more of this OBS Chevy.
We can keep buttoning up a couple things.
Yeah.
Move on to suspension. Today on Carcass, our OBS Chevy makes the transformation from a daily driver to a track competitor. We beef up the suspension with a high-performance front end with coilover shocks.
Plus, we show you how to build a custom suspension setup that pays homage to oval track racing.
Hey guys, welcome to Carcass. Well, our 1989 Chevy Pro Touring truck is really coming along nicely. We've managed to remove the entire front clip and the box out back, and we pulled out the entire drivetrain.
And then we dropped in this 406-inch stroked LS that we got from the guys at Engine Power and backed it up with a T56 Magnum 6-speed manual transmission. And now we're at the point where we're really getting into the parts that will make this truck a pro touring vehicle.
So today we're going to be working on suspension. Up front, we're going to be bolting on some pretty trick parts, but out back is going to be something of our own creation. And then at the end, we're going to bolt on a big set of brakes.
All right, well, let's go up with this thing and we'll get it torn apart.
Sounds good. Now, we've had these caps off before because we torqued the wheels down before we hit the dyno. Somebody's put the wrong lug nuts on these wheels. You can't get to them with an impact socket, so that's why we're using a chrome socket on the 3/8 impact. I know you're not supposed to be doing that, but that's the only way we can get the lug nuts off right now. Oh, that's heavy. Now, before we tear our suspension down, we're going to make our lives a whole lot easier and spray down all of our nuts and bolts with Berryman Products Easy Does It Professional Lubricant. Now, this is a powerful penetrating oil that instantly goes to work to free up loose and corroded nuts and bolts. It's got 3 different ways to spray. Using the supplied straw, you can use the drip function. Or you could use the stream. Or if you take the straw out, you can use the spray. Now, you guys can use this basically anywhere from automotive use. You can use it around the farm, personal watercrafts. You can use it on bicycles. You can even use it on firearms, or pretty much anywhere rust and corrosion has bonded 2 metal parts together. The suspension comes apart pretty easy. I'll start with the tie rod end, loosen up the sway bar, now let's get this brake caliper off here. We'll take the caliper out of the way. Get rid of the old worn out shocks. Release the lower ball joint. That should do it. And pull the spindles out of the way. Now we can pull out the coil spring. Remove the upper control arm, followed by the lower control arm. And the last thing, we'll get rid of the sway bar. With the front suspension out from underneath our truck, it's time to start installing some really good parts that we got from RideTech. Now you guys can buy all of these as just individual pieces, or you can buy them as a kit. And what we got were their 2-inch drop spindles, we have their big 1.5 inch sway bar, and we have their strong arm upper and lower control arms. Now these have a relocated lower ball joint and upper ball joint socket to prevent some binding. But really the heart of this whole system is right here in their HQ series shocks. Now these are really going to allow us to adjust and dial in our truck when we're out on the track. They're 24-way adjustable. They have an 1 7/8 piston, and they have a 5/8 inch shaft. Now, before we get all of this installed, we have to do a couple mods to the chassis, and that involves a little bit of cutting. Up inside the frame, we have to trim off a couple ears with a cutoff wheel so we can get our new strut assembly installed. All right. Let's do a test fit here. Make sure these holes line up. Yeah, that'll work. So the next step here is I have to drill the shock hole out to about 3/4 of an inch. All right, now we can install the entire coil over assembly. After our coilover assembly is installed, we'll install all of our new suspension parts. All of the RideTech suspension utilizes the factory mounting points. Besides for the little bit of trimming we had to do inside the chassis to mount the coilovers, everything else just bolts right in. All right, well that wraps up the front. From here, Jimmy and I are gonna tackle the brakes, then we're headed on to the back. Front's done. Now we have to make room in the rear for our custom suspension setup. Hey guys, welcome back. Well, we've got the complete front suspension underneath our OBS, and Jimmy and I even tackled the brakes. We got this set up from Little Shop Manufacturing, and it came with machine hubs and brake rotor hats to fit our RideTech spindles. We even got massive 14-inch rotors and 6-piston calipers.
And now it's time to move on to the back, where Jeremy and I have a few tricks up our sleeves, doing stuff that we've never seen done to a truck like this, and that all starts with getting all the old stuff out, so let's get the axle out of it.
Sounds good.
First thing we'll do is remove the rear bumper and get rid of the spare tire. After lowering the truck down, we'll get rid of the shocks. And remove the leaf spring hangers, unbolt the shackles, and the rear end can come right out. With the rear end out of the way, we'll cut a few rivets and remove the shackle mounts.
All right, now that Jimmy has the rear of our OBS stripped down to just 2 frame rails, it's time to start designing our rear suspension, but we're not gonna be using the stock 10 bolt. We're actually gonna be using a Ford 9-inch housing because it's quite a bit stronger.
And for the suspension side of things, we could go back to a leaf spring setup. We could do a 4-link setup, but we're actually gonna be using a 3-link setup with a panhard bar. And it's gonna be a little bit modified from what you normally see, and it's something you'd be more likely to find on an asphalt oval track car. A 3-link is relatively simple. There are 2 lower links and 1 top link to control the fore and aft location and the rotation of the rear axle, and a panhard bar locates it side to side. In most cases for street-driven vehicles, the top link is solid. This is fine for overall performance and axle control, but here's where ours will differ. Taking a page out of the circle track world, our top link will be a torque link. When power is applied through the drivetrain, torque will be absorbed through bushings or springs to help soften the power applied to the ground, providing more forward bite. And before we actually put the suspension under this truck, I have to go design it in our CAD program to make sure the geometry and everything is gonna work out. And in the meantime, Jeremy's gonna take care of one more thing that we need to do to take care of the back half of this truck.
And that's going to be adding a C-notch to the chassis. Now, RideTech does make all the brackets to do this, but with this being a one-off custom setup that Jimmy and I are going to do, we were unsure as if we really did have to C-notch. But now that we see how close the axle is to the frame, we definitely know that's going to have to happen. So Jimmy already went ahead, whipped out some brackets on our CNC plasma. So now all I have to do is get to work and start cutting. I'll trace our line out on the chassis, and then just cut the lower section off the frame. All right, get this axle housing out of the way, and we'll start cutting. All right, so now we'll fit the C-notch plate on the outside here, and then we're just gonna tack it in for now, and we'll keep building this thing out. Okay, so now that I have all of our C-notch brackets on the chassis, I'm gonna knock the tabs off and take this assembly over to the bench and weld it up completely. Then we'll come back, put it back on the chassis, and we'll finish it off with the top piece. All right, so I'm gonna share with you guys a little tech tip. As we start welding this, the heat is gonna drive these 2 pieces of the plates together. It's gonna compress it. So if we just use 2 sockets that are just the right size, they kind of match the chassis width. As we weld, that's going to keep it apart and make it so we can slide it right back on the chassis. All right, let's get this in here. We'll throw in a couple tacks. Add the top plate here, tack this on, and we'll weld the whole thing up. All right, with this side buttoned up, we'll move on to the driver's side, and then we can move on to suspension.
Coming up, we start fabricating our custom rear suspension with a racing theme in mind. Now that Jeremy's got the notch all finished up, I've been designing some of the suspension components, and now we just have to cut them out and weld them up. We're using our Premier Plasma 4x4 table to make a cross member, chassis brackets, and some axle brackets. That's just nice. When welding parts that have outside corner joints, it's helpful to tack them together flat on the table and then bend them to the desired angle. We've got some of our suspension brackets cut out and welded now, so at this point we got to get everything tacked in and mocked up to make sure the suspension is going to work like it's supposed to, and that all starts with cutting up this cross member here to make room for some third link brackets. Once we get that tacked in place, we'll move on to the cross member and the link brackets. All right, we've got all the brackets that we need on the chassis. Now I just need to weld the axle brackets. Just line that guy up and tack it in. I've got some of the brackets tacked on the axle so we can keep moving forward.
I also took care of these lower links. They're all mocked up so we can put these in as well.
Oh, sweet. You want to help me get this thing up here?
Yeah. Get your side up there. There we go.
Cool. All right, you want to level that out?
Yeah.
Tell me when.
When? All right, Jimmy, here's the panhard bar.
All right. With everything mocked up, we can tack in the rocker arm brackets, throw in the coilovers, and install the push rods. Oh yeah, we got you.
Dude, this thing looks so amazing and I can't wait to take it out for a rip.
Yeah, me too. And I try to design everything with adjustability in mind so we can kind of change everything and get it to handle the best that it can.
Right.
And even like these rocker arms, we can make new ones with different ratios to adjust wheel travel or shock travel, stuff like that.
And I know that there's one thing that you did want to take care of, and that's a sway bar, but you have measurements for that?
Yep, all taken care of.
Cool. Well, we're going to get closer and closer to getting this thing on the road. There is one thing I have to do now, and that's build out the whole rear axle. So you want to help me get this out of here, and then you can just weld everything up?
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. don't go away. We set up our rear axle to get it ready for the track. All right, guys, well, we're getting super close to wrapping up our Pro Touring truck, but while Jimmy's been building the entire rear suspension, he's been basing it off of this Ford 9-inch axle housing. Now, we got this one from Speedway Motors, and we ordered it to a very specific width because we want to run a wider set of wheels and tires. Now, to go along with our axle, we also picked up this third member from Speedway, and it came complete with 411 gears and a clutch-style locker, and we ordered it for 31 spline axle shafts. Now, these are cut-to-length axle shafts, so what I have to do is set the third member in the housing. We'll take a measurement, cut these things to length, and then we'll finish it off with a big set of brakes. Okay, so now that we have the third member installed, we'll go ahead and slide in an axle shaft here. We'll take a measurement, and that way I know how much I've got to cut off. Take a measurement here from the face over to where the seal sits. That's about 2 inches. We'll take 2 1/8 to give us a little bit of wiggle room. Then we'll mark the splined end of the shaft here, 2 1/8. And we'll just go grab the cutoff tool. All right, now we'll slide this side in, make sure it engages right, and then we'll move on and do the other side. Perfect. It'll work. All right, this side fits perfectly as well, but I do have to pull them back out because we're gonna move on to the brakes, and I gotta put the backing plate on here first. Go ahead and throw our spacers on for the caliper. Slide our caliper in here, tighten it down. Put the pads in. All right, Jimmy, well, the complete suspension is in it, and I built out the whole rear axle, but we get the big daunting task now of taking it completely apart because we got to paint the whole thing.
Yeah, it's going to look good, though.
It should.
Well, if you guys like anything you've seen on today's show, go to PowerNationTV.com.
And don't forget to check out our project pages where you can see our completed builds like Project Junk Mail and our little Honda Civic rally car.
All right, let's do it again.
Take it apart.
Today on Carcass, we make some serious modifications to our Chevy's truck bed, making room for the fabricated 3-link suspension. Then it's time to give it a color change with an OE-style paint scheme.
Hey guys, welcome to Carcass. Our 1989 Chevy Pro Touring truck has really made a giant transformation from the day that it originally rolled into the shop. We got rid of the entire drivetrain and swapped it out with a 6-liter and a 6-speed. We bolted on some really trick suspension in the front, and Jimmy even designed his own custom rear suspension to give it a little bit of a different look and to make this thing really handle when it's on the course.
And now we're at the point where we're going to paint the truck, and this thing was painted at one point in its lifetime, but it doesn't look so great anymore. So we are going to do a color change and lay out some lines for a nice two-tone. But to do that, we have to hang everything back on the truck, including the bed. And you might be wondering, how are we going to clear the rear suspension? Well, we're just going to take some measurements, lay out some lines, and cut a hole. 33 should do it.
$33. Okay, so that's where we'll cut. We'll cut clean across here. We'll cut clean across the bottom down here. And we'll come up, cut the inner tubs out of it on both sides, and then we'll just take the whole center section right out of the bed.
Yeah, let's get some tools.
We'll start cutting along the pinch weld in the center of the wheel tub. Then we'll work our way across the top and the bottom and get everything free. There you go.
Cool. We'll clean up the edges with a flat disc and contour the corners.
You're steering the box.
Yeah.
I'm steering the lift. Are we high enough? Should be.
Yes.
This is not easy to do. Can't see how straight I am or off crooked I am here.
Stop right there.
Stoppish.
Yeah. I think we're off to the passenger side a little.
Try to go slow. Won't scare you this time. Touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
There. What do you think of that?
It's a nice piece is what it is.
Look at that. You can see everything.
That's cool.
Yeah, that looks really cool. Good to get bolted down now. We'll do a little shimmy shake in here.
Yeah.
Come my way a little bit. All right, that wraps up the back of the bed. Now we'll go hang the front of the truck together. Up front, we'll start with the core support. And then we'll hang our fenders. All right, that takes care of the fenders. Now we'll just slap the hood on it.
We got the front clip hung on our truck and we got the bed on it, and now's the time to prep for paint. And one thing we got to do is take these taillights out, and as you can see, these are all really faded, and we could try to polish these up, but instead we went to rockauto.com and picked up some new taillights along with some marker lamps and some turn signal lenses. And these are all really easy to find because once you go to Rock Auto's website, you just search by year, make, and model, and even trim level of your vehicle, and you can find any part that you need. And obviously, we're not gonna put these on before we paint it, but once we prep and paint, we'll put all these new parts back on it. So now we just gotta get this to the prep booth and get started.
Coming up, before we can paint, we need to prep it first.
We got the truck in the prep booth, and it's now time to start sanding on this thing. We want it to look really good, so it's gonna be a time-consuming and tedious process, but as the painter would say, it is
90% prep.
Yeah, so let's do it.
All right, so before we got this thing down here, we took care of a couple things, like we've got this big cutout in the fender now, but don't worry, we had to do that for tire clearance, and we're gonna cover that up a little bit later. But to get started right now, we're gonna get down here and take off this rocker panel cover and this trim, so let's get started. Use a heat gun to heat up the molding and the rocker covers. The heat releases the glue that hold these on the truck. And then with a little help from a vice grip, so we don't burn our hands, we'll grab the corner and just start tugging. From there, we'll start working our way down the truck. All right, so now that we have the chrome trim off and this molding off, it leaves behind this like sticky tape on both sides. So we have an eraser wheel. This is just hooked to a drill. We'll just spin this up and it pretty much melts the stuff off and takes care of all the residue too. You can pick up these eraser wheels at any local parts store, and they make quick work of a tough job. All right, well, we got all the moldings off and we even took the vent shades off, and now we're gonna start prepping this thing. We're not gonna get too carried away. We're just gonna hit it with 320 grit on a DA. We're using 320 grit to start. Eventually, we'll work our way up to 400 and finish sanding the truck with 600. All right, so as we're sanding, we actually noticed something. Our sandpaper's turning black. Obviously, that's the color of the truck. That means we're working with a single stage paint. Now, if this was a base clear, this would be like a white chalky film, but it's actually working in our favor because right now the single stage is actually working as a little bit of a filler that's allowing us to make the truck just a little straighter. To get in the nooks and crannies, we'll put down the DA, pick up a piece of sandpaper, and use good old-fashioned muscle. Now, when we're sanding on the truck, what we're actually doing is putting small sand scratches into the body panels, and that's going to allow our new paint to adhere to the truck. Now, what we don't want to do is put deep gouges into the panels, like if we're leaning over the side or if we're working on the hood. And that can happen if you're wearing a regular belt or a big belt buckle. Well, Jimmy and I actually wear a pretty unique belt to prevent that from happening.
And Grip 6 has a solution. The belts themselves are made of a rigid, high tensile strength nylon weave. And the sleek design of the buckles sit flat and tight against your body so they don't protrude out or dig into your skin. And because there's no moving parts, there's nothing to wear out, and the best part, they're 100% made in America.
And they've got a bunch of different designs of belts and buckles that you guys can choose from, and like Jimmy and I, we've got some special belts that say Carcass on them.
So if you want a belt that will last a lifetime, be sure to check out Grip 6.
And we got a bunch of stuff that we still got to do to the truck, but the next time you guys see this thing, it's going to be in the booth getting ready for some color.
With all the prep work done now, it's time to lay down some color.
All right, well, our truck is all prepped and masked off. We're in our Mobile Environmental Solutions portable spray booth, and we're ready to lay down some color.
But before we do that, we have to lay down some primer sealer, and even before that, we have to wipe down the whole truck with wax and grease remover, and then we'll be ready to go.
Wax and grease remover does exactly what the name implies. It gives us a clean surface so we can lay down our sealer.
Once we have the truck wiped down, I'll lay down a couple coats of primer sealer that we got from Summit.
So now that Jimmy has 2 coats of our primer sealer down, we're going to lay down some colors. Now all the stuff we're using came from Summit Racing, and we're going to paint this truck in a 2-tone paint style. Now the first color we're laying down is a cappuccino, and we just mix this to the ratios that they call for. We'll throw it in the gun, and then we'll head back into the booth. There. Look at that color. For our first coat of color, we're not trying to change the color. All we're doing is stacking up our paint, and after a couple coats, it'll end up looking great. We'll be spraying this using a 50% overlap, making sure we get the metallics in the color to lay down correctly. We chose this color because we thought it would really complement the second color of our 2-tone. All right, so we have the first color laid down, and now it's time to tape off for our 2-tone color. We're gonna be using some 1/8" fine line tape, then we'll mask this thing off, spray the second color, then we'll move on to clear. After our fine line is laid down, we'll finish off with some paper.
For our 2-tone color, we're going with Summit's Gold Rush Metallic, and then we're actually going to add some of this mocha in it to make it a little bit darker. And how we're going to do that is put these 2 quarts in this bigger container, then add the mocha in, because it's a lot better to have extra paint than it is to go back, try to recreate a color if you run out. And that's the beauty of Summit Racing's paint, is that they're all compatible, so you can mix and match and make your own color. I haven't painted too much, so I was a little bit nervous, but anytime I can practice some skills, it's always exciting. Just like Jeremy, I'll lay down 3 coats of gold, and then we'll move on to clear. The Mobile Environmental Solutions paint booth is a great fit for any industry. The 360-degree ambient lighting allows you to see the true color you're laying down on your body panels. Their spray booths can be used for painting, window tinting, doing wraps, spraying in bed liners, and even in the carpentry industry. Their paint booth designs are compliant with all environmental and governmental regulations. They have booth sizes ranging from small, standard booths like the one we are using, and even XL series that are made for heavy-duty commercial uses.
Okay, this is the first time you've ever actually laid color, right?
Yeah.
So, were you scared? How'd it go?
Well, with metallics, you got to be careful about laying it on too heavy, because then you'll get streaks of metallics. That's what you told me.
Right.
So just trying to be, as consistent as possible with distance to the panel and like my overlap and everything, so I can get a good finish,
It looked really good from the outside. Like, you did a pretty good job.
Technique's there.
Technique's there.
Yeah, I mean, it needs some polishing, but I'll get there.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Cool. After we let it flash, we'll do a quick unmask, and then we'll start mixing our clear. Unlike our Honda rally car, for clear coat, we're doing something a little different and using Summit Racing's satin clear to give our OBS a modern look. We'll lay down 2 coats of clear, allowing it to flash for 5 or 10 minutes between each coat. After prepping and painting, we need to do some cleaning and then get one step closer to finishing this thing up.
We got the truck out of the booth and back into the shop. It's been sitting for a little while, and now it's time to hang everything back on it to make it really look complete.
And with the outside all nice and clean, the interior could use a little bit of a spruce up, because no matter how well we tape and mask off, when we're in the prep booth and in the paint booth, some stuff just gets inside of here. So I'm gonna grab a couple products and we'll clean up the inside as well. Now, Sonax is known for their line of exterior detailing products, but they also have a full line of interior cleaning products. What we're going to be using to clean our OBS is stuff like their dashboard cleaner, we've got their glass cleaner, their multi-purpose interior cleaner, and their Profiline plastic care. Now, all of this stuff is really going to help clean and protect the inside of our truck. Where we're going to start is right here with the dashboard and the glass cleaner. So we'll grab a rag, we'll get started. To clean our dash, I'll apply our Sonax dashboard cleaner directly to the rag. Then we'll give it a good wipe down. Man, that's disgusting. For our door panels, we had to remove these when we originally painted the truck because we had to get rid of the door handles. And they've got a little bit of body shop dust on them, so we're gonna hit them with the interior cleaner, and then we'll come back, follow that up with the plastic care. Sonax's Profiline plastic care can be used on interior and exterior plastics, giving it a nice shine and a coat of protection.
All right, so Jeremy's got the interior all cleaned up. I put on the bumper and getting the grill on here. Got this stuff from Rock Auto, and the truck is really looking nice.
Oof, man, this truck is looking so slick right now.
Yeah, with the front end on it, man, it looks perfect. And this is a great example as to why you should not paint bumpers and grills, just leave them chrome.
Right, because chrome adds a couple horsepower here and there, so we got like 5 horsepower here, and there's 5 horsepower there too, right?
Well, it just looks good. Painted stuff looks terrible.
Right, you know, we've got a couple more things that we do have to button up. We got to get back underneath the hood. We still have the mirrors and the door handles to put on, but we're getting really close to getting this thing out on the road. But it pretty much wraps it up for us today. So if you guys are interested in anything you've seen on the show, why don't you check out PowerNationTV.com.
And be sure to check out our build pages where you can see the Rally Civic, Project Junk Mail, and the OBS Chevy.
All right, let's bolt on a couple more things.
Yeah. Yep, it's looking good, man.
It is looking really good here. Today on Carcass, we finally finish up our C1500, freshening up the interior with new carpet and a set of racing seats.
Then we head down to engine power to see what kind of horsepower we can lay down on the dyno.
Plus, we head out on the open road, taking our Pro Touring pickup to an event for those who love GM trucks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Carcass. We are on the home stretch of our OBS Chevy truck. The rear suspension and everything is dialed in, engine and transmission are in it and working properly, and now we're on to the last piece of this puzzle, which is the interior.
The last time you guys saw this truck, we gave it a fresh paint job, but the inside got a little dirty, so we just spruced it up then. Well, now we're gonna dive back in here and replace the carpet and the seats. Plus, we're gonna go strap this thing down to the dyno, see what kind of horsepower it puts out, and then at the end, we're gonna take it to a special event that's kind of wrapped around these two-wheel drive Chevy trucks. So what do you say we dive inside?
Yeah, let's take it apart.
Ready?
Yeah.
Try it. She's heavy. Oh, we can get around the seat belt here. Okay. Still doing all right?
Yep.
These cabs aren't very big though. Oh yeah, all right.
With the seats removed, we'll start taking out the interior trim pieces and the seat belts so we can get rid of the carpet.
Seriously, this one won't come out.
Well, do it the right way then.
Yeah, I guess. Wait, almost. There it goes, jeepers. Under the pedals. Take it my way. Yeah, that's right. It's terrible. I guess that's coming with two.
Before we put the carpet in this truck, I've got this patch panel for the transmission tunnel made. We could have just as easily patched the original hole for the original shifter, but we wanted a little bit cleaner install, so I opened the hole up, made this patch panel for it, and we just have to weld it in. Something to note here is if you're using this transmission, you have several different options for shifter location. This shifter that's on it now, we can flip it 180 degrees to bring the shifter farther back, or you can go to American Powertrain and get one of these more mid-mount style shifters, take this plate off, put the shifter on it, and it'll move it farther forward. In our case, this configuration is going to work out, so just got to get this plate on and wrap it up. I drilled some holes in the panel, and we'll just rosette weld it to the floor. I painted the bottom of the panel with primer before welding, and once it's in place, I'll coat the top.
Okay, now that Jimmy has the patch panel in the truck, we'll go ahead and put our carpet in that we got from Rock Auto. Now we're just gonna set this into position for now. We're not gonna mount it completely or trim it. We're gonna end up just getting it to fit, and then we'll come back, get our seat brackets in here, and then I'll do a final fit then. This is molded carpet designed to fit our truck. All you have to do is give it a little bit of love and push it into the corners. So the seat bracket for our original seats should work. We did a couple mods to them. So we'll get this in here. Gotta find the mounting holes, pop some holes in the carpet, and then we'll get this thing mounted. Just like with our Honda, we'll heat up a piece of pipe with a torch and put a nice clean hole in the carpet for our mounting locations. Then we'll install our hardware. Perfect. And finally, we'll trim the carpet to fit.
Now that Jeremy's got the carpet all trimmed up and in here, we can install the seats. These are Pro Car seats that we got from Speedway Motors. These are gonna be perfect because they're an adjustable bucket seat, and these will hold us in when we're on the autocross track.
With Jimmy installing the seats in the truck, it's almost buttoned up and we're almost ready to hit the dyno, but we're gonna take care of one last thing before we head down there, and that's replace all of our weather stripping. Now we got all of these products from Steele Rubber Products, and that was pretty simple to find. We just went on their website, plugged in the year, make, model of the truck, and we came up with all of our gaskets. We got stuff like their door seals. Now this is made of 100% EPDM sponge rubber. It's made to last and it will not fade, shrink, or crack. We got their door window kit. It's got their run channels and their window felts, and we even have the little bumpers that go underneath the hood. Now, they've got a bunch of stuff for your cars and your trucks, and they even have a universal section where you can look at cross cutouts of seals and gaskets for you guys doing custom work. Well, we're gonna get all this installed, then we're gonna go strap that truck down to the dyno, see what kind of numbers we can put to the rear wheels.
Coming up, we strap our OBS to the dyno to see how much power the 406 cubic inch LS makes. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Carcass. We've got our OBS Chevy down here in engine power strapped to the chassis dyno, and we're ready to post some numbers to see what it can do.
It looks great. I'm going to give you that right now.
Yeah,
So.
the color choices are on point. I'm really digging like the dark brown and the gold. I like how the engine matches. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, you guys inspired us with the engine, so this is what we got.
Nice. Now, do you remember what it made before all the mods?
Well, when we found out it was a 305 and not a 350, 170 horsepower, I think, was
Okay.
around
Well,
that mark.
if it starts with a Uno, that's a bad thing. I think we're going to
Yeah.
do better than that
Right.
right now. So.
I'm almost positive we're gonna do better than that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think so.
Might be onto something there.
All right.
Excellent.
Well, the talking's done. Why don't you get in there and light it?
But I'm going to throw you guys a little curveball here. You guys run your engine dyno all the time. How often do you guys get to sit in a car or a truck and run your chassis dyno?
Never.
Okay, so instead of Jimmy and I driving, we're sitting here. Why don't one of you two jump in the hot seat and take it for a spin?
That's all you, my man.
you don't want to tag at it?
Nope, because when you nuke it, then they can't take it there, and I don't want to feel bad about it.
Why is that always a theme when I run
Make
things?
sure you check the oil level and the tires
Oh, it'll be
just
just
to
fine.
cover yourself.
It'll be
Oh,
just fine.
geez. Oh, this is nice.
Comfy, right?
Yeah, that is nice.
You look good in there.
Thanks. I feel like it should be mine.
Right.
You guys just want to leave it here.
No.
Good?
Good luck.
Yeah, we all ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Let the big dog eat.
I'm excited to be standing out here and get to watch this.
Yeah.
I can't believe one of you guys didn't want to drive it.
Oh, well, we'll drive it. Man, it sounds good.
Yeah, it does. Love that.
Wow.
All right, first hit, 82. 482.
Heck yeah.
That's about right?
Yeah,
426 pound-feet. Dude, that's mean.
that's pretty decent at the tire.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this thing has no temp in the drive line.
Oh yeah, everything's still
the more
cold,
pulls
so.
you make, you gotta loosen up. Go ahead and just make another one right
Yeah.
where you're at.
What'd you run it up to then, Frankie, RPM wise?
Right about 7.
Okay, cool.
Dang. This thing's just that's just a screamer, man. That's awesome.
It gets it. It's mean. Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Is this awesome?
Yeah, exact same thing, 482. You want to go for the trifecta?
Might as well. I mean, we are here. Honestly, this thing, I mean, it's on the dyno, but it's like super smooth, gets right in it. I mean, it's really nice.
For 93 octane pump gas, that's
Oh, yeah.
outstanding.
I bet this thing is
This thing
happy on the street.
Yeah.
All right, make one more
Or
just
go-
to say we
yeah.
did.
Go for 3.
Yeah, why not?
I want to hear it again is why.
Yeah,
Right.
nice.
78. Now it's starting to get warm.
Yeah,
It's gonna start
starting to get
going
warm.
up and then dropping off on power.
Dude, it's right in there though.
Dude, shut it down. That's what it should make. Now,
Yeah.
now on the dyno, we weren't turning an AC compressor and all that good
Right,
stuff
right.
either. So,
That's full net wheel horsepower, and that's still, I mean, that's nice.
this thing's smooth as glass.
Yeah.
And not that we didn't expect it to be, but you know, when something goes from a dyno, you know, we have a pretty controlled condition. You stick it in a vehicle, you have a whole other different set of things you have to worry about, right?
Yep.
Not from the accessory drive to the actual drive line
Drivetrain,
itself.
yeah. Yep.
And man, I don't know. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, when you guys get done with this, we probably take it for a ride.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
if it's available.
it's funny because we rarely get to dyno. We rarely get to drive them either.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll take this one for a peel one of these days. But you guys are gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah, it'll scoot.
We had a lot of fun building the truck. Like, we put the whole thing together, and obviously, like, you guys put the engine together, you ran it with its fuel injection system that's on it. You delivered us something that was, in theory, turnkey, ready. Like, we didn't have to do anything to it. We hooked everything up. We turn the key and it runs, and that for us is huge, so we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And then, you know, getting the number now, I mean, that's just like money in the bank. So.
Well, you know, the things that should happen did happen, right? Now, if this thing would have made 410 at the wheel, like we had a serious problem.
Right.
It's a tune-up problem. You know, something's falling out of it. But from where the transmission is, we know about where the driveline loss should be for what this is. We're right on target. So, guys, congratulations. That is a job well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the engine too.
Should we get it unstrapped?
Yeah, let's go drive.
Let's actually go put it on the road now.
Please.
Tell I don't want to get out. I'm just,
No, you gotta
I'm
get
just
out.
gonna
You
sit
gotta
here
help us
forever.
unstrap. Come on.
These guys got work to do. Get out of there.
We take our Chevy out for a cruise and end up at a party for GM trucks. All right, so here's the deal. We obviously put the truck together. We've got it out on the open road.
Yep.
We laid down, what, 485 horse on the dyno. Got like 585 just motor.
Yep.
I think the truck's gonna do really well when we go out and have a little bit of fun here.
Yeah, it should rip, you know. 335 Continental tires all the way around, which I don't know if there will be another OBS out there like this one, but you know, ride tech suspension in the front. We've got their coilovers in the back with our own custom setup,
Right.
and just test and tune it, see what it can do.
Yeah, you know, the fact that we're cruising down the highway doing 70, 75 miles per hour, we got 6 speeds of awesomeness, really.
Yep.
The truck runs out pretty much like a stock OBS, but has a ton of power.
Yeah.
And even handles quite a bit better, so.
Yeah, and it's really comfortable.
Yeah, it's quite comfortable. It's quiet inside here.
Yep, not too bad.
Yeah, it's not this droney stuff, and you know, this is really an all-around build. Like, the pro touring movement, this is what this truck is about.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So C10 Nationals is the big test.
Yeah, that's right here down the road.
Nashville Super Speedway, yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Little show, little go.
Drop a gear, then let's go. This thing hauls.
It does. The C10 National started in Texas back in 2017 when the founders who shared an enthusiasm for trucks saw a shift in the automotive world and wanted to help fill a need for those like-minded enthusiasts.
Trucks are the new hot rod. So trucks are hot. Trucks are where it's at. It's where people are interested, vendors are interested in, so that's why we started the C10 National.
Now, they could have started an event that included all manufacturers, but you can probably guess why they chose to focus on a particular brand.
Ken and I are both GM truck guys. Those particular trucks, there's a lot of parts available. They're easy to work on. The Fords are getting there, but the GM trucks are where it's at. And at the C10 Nationals, we allow C10, C20, C30, K. We also allow OBS just about any year, but at some point you have to pick a name. So everybody knows what a C10 is and knows what that means.
With the C10 Nationals thriving in Texas, they started looking to add events, and Tennessee was the next logical choice due to its location and people's passion for pickups.
I love C10s, I love trucks. I've got a whole bunch of them. I love fixing them. I own a restoration shop, and this is what we do.
My first vehicle was a truck. I've always liked trucks. It's just, I don't know, I've got a Tahoe at home, and I've just always liked a truck.
Tennessee, it's the other end of the country where these trucks are, and you have a lot of overflow from the Carolinas, that whole NASCAR community, and how to fabricate. That has spilled over in this area of the country, and I think you can see it in some of the trucks out here.
It doesn't matter if you're into customs, classics, or resto mods. This event has a little bit of something for everybody. You can watch these trucks perform on the track or get some inspiration and friendly advice for your next GM project.
There's a lot of nice people here and a lot of nice trucks, and there's a lot of vendors.
Great event, beautiful trucks here, good selection, and a lot of variety. I love seeing different things, get ideas for my next build.
I love the turnout. The amount of trucks has been great. The creativity with all the different styles and years and everything else, it's a good show.
A lot of the guys that come are working on their truck. It's not quite ready. They need to talk to vendors. They're looking for ideas. They're going to go out where the show is. But then there's also the entertainment factor, like we talked about earlier, with all the different activities that we have going on.
This year's event brought out quite a few custom projects that really made us stop and admire the craftsmanship that goes into creating these one-off builds, like Bobby Cunningham's 16-passenger Chevy school bus.
Just always wanted something different, and seeing pictures of other people's school buses, bread trucks and stuff, and I just decided, hey, that's what I want to do. It's got a LS 6.2, got a 9-inch forward rear end, on airbags, rack and pinion, dual ACs. We decided we'd bring it out and come to this.
And don't forget the swap meet, where you just may happen to stumble across those hard-to-find pieces to complete or add to your GM truck project. And who knows, you may even find your next project. So if you're a GM truck enthusiast, the C10 Nationals has something for everyone.
We've driven it on the street, but can it handle the track? We'll find out next.
Hey guys, welcome back. Well, we're out here at the Nashville Super Speedway, and we're at the C10 Nationals. Well, we drove this truck here for one reason, and that's to put it on the autocross course. Well, since Jimmy's in the driver's seat, he's gonna go set the pace.
See you at the starting line.
I will meet you down there.
This truck flat out rips. I've had quite a few OBS Chevy trucks, but nothing that handles quite like this. It feels really tight and stuck to the ground around the turns and stops on a dime. With a little more seat time, we could really get this truck dialed in. We're running pretty good times out on the track, and one big reason for that is our Continental tires. We're running their ExtremeContact Sport. This tire has Sport Plus technology that delivers precise steering for maximum control and provides responsive handling. This dynamic ultra high performance tire comes in 4 different styles to handle all types of driving. The 335/30 Sport tires we're using are the perfect combination for our pro touring truck on and off the course. And these will help us set fast track times we're looking for. All right, dude, that was the most fun I've ever had in a vehicle.
Well, you're running like the 32.7, you're right in the mix on it.
I feel fast.
Cool, well, I want to feel fast too, so I'm gonna hop in it and see if I can catch it.
Hammer it.
is the first time I've driven the truck since we started this project, and the OBS has made a huge transformation from the stock truck with big wheels and a ton of body roll to an absolute animal on and off the track. I ran a bit slower than Jimmy, but with a 33.6 second run, I'm right in the mix with the other trucks. We had a bunch of fun out here at the C10 Nationals, and now we get to do what this truck was made to do, and that's drive it right back home.
Yep, we're right in the mix on the track, and now we get to ride home in comfort.
And we got a couple more things that we're gonna go check out, so that wraps it up. If you guys like anything you've seen, why don't you go to PowerNationTV.com.
And be sure to check out our build pages where you can see Project Junk Mail, the Honda Rally Civic, and more of our OBS Chevy.
All right, let's go for a little cruise.
Everything's loud around here.
I know, but that's so amazing. Our truck's loud too.
A little bit.
That loud.